analogy. So they're like, they're the little mouse trying to try to climb out of, what is that analogy? They're trying to climb out of the bucket. They're trying
Yeah.
to turn the milk into cheese, right? And they're like spending so much money and effort. And I'm finding that a lot on the AI visibility side. People don't know
Yeah.
what to do, so they're doing like a bunch of everything. And then I
Yeah.
like come in and I'm like, okay, there's a lot of noise here. Like you're just trying to survive. Like let's slow down, figure out what the plan is, and then move in that direction. I don't know. And I
Yeah.
just feel like what you do is the engine on that train, right? Like you got to have the data figured out.
Yeah, well, there's a few things you said there that I want to touch on. So the first one being the example that you just gave where you showed a client where the pixel wasn't firing and all of that. I think what's really interesting, and I'd be curious your take on this, is we've kind of had this pendulum, right? So as soon as kind of performance marketing started to come into style, so to say, it was like, oh, we can track everything. Therefore, X equals 10. And I think we as marketers, like the pendulum swung over there to be like, what's our ROAS? What's our ROI? We're only doing things if we can attribute them, right?
Yep.
And then we look at like, okay, the Cambridge Analytica thing happened, so there was like some weird feeling around that. Some of the social APIs kind of cut back on what they were showing, all for good reason. Then you have all the whole like GDPR data privacy compliance stuff.
Yeah.
And then
And California. I want to call out California because
Sure.
no one talks about California, and people just say in the US you're able to operate no problem.
Yep.
And
Totally.
they don't mention California. So
Yeah. So totally. So there's so what we've seen is kind of this like pendulum of like, let's track everything, to
Yep.
now it's actually kind of swung back the other way, because it's like, well, we actually can't see everything anymore. And even the stuff we can see, to your point, it's biased because Google's going to say it came from Google. Meta's going to say it came from Meta. Everyone's trying to get that piece of the attribution pie to be like, I was the one that actually did that. And so the kind of the narrator's voice is like, everybody's lying. And like that's kind of the thing. And the answer is it depends. And so then you get into your own data. Oh, well, people coming to our site, the way a visit or a session is calculated on every single website is different. Plus there's bot traffic, plus there's et cetera, right? So like, to your point, it's complicated. And
so just to add, like bot traffic is something that a lot of clients don't rule out when they're setting up their analytics, right?
Yep.
Or their own IP address, right?
Yep.
So you got people at the company. It really creates a lot of noise in the data. And
Totally.
I would even say, what was I going to say? I was going to say something that was pretty thoughtful, but I can't remember what it was. So keep going.
Yeah. So what I would say is from that data perspective, like that has just been a really interesting thing to navigate within organizations, right? Like how we as marketers approach data. What is our level of trust there? So that's kind of like bucket number one. Bucket number two, I think that is really interesting is, for the last, up until kind of like, the advent of all these AI tools in the last 24 months, call it, we as marketers have basically let the tools drive what we count. And I actually think that's wrong. I actually think what we need to do is we need to figure out what is the right thing to count, and then have tooling go after that. And I think what's happened is with AI now, you can create tooling in a fairly lightweight way based on the value of the countability of something. And that is really, really interesting.
Yeah, I think you're dead on. And as a broader concept, that's what I've seen lack in most of the tools is there's things you can measure. So AI on the organic side of things has completely been flipped upside down, right? Like they've flipped over the cart. There's no attribution. Like, you have to rethink what you're doing. And people are like, oh, it's just good SEO. And that is a portion of it. And it's going to get you, let's say 70% or whatever the way there, but there's still differences and there's still things that need to happen. But when you think about, okay, what do I need to do? It's not about traffic anymore. Okay. That's the thing. That's the biggest thing is like,
totally.
There's an inverse correlation now is like traffic's going down, leads are going up. Right. And so people are using this traffic measurement and like, I mean, there was some kind of update recently and traffic just dropped again. right? And then like
Yeah.
everybody freaks out. And it's like, okay, well, what is happening? How are things evolving? Where are things moving to? And we're not tracking the right things. Like we're tracking what we know how to track, but even keyword ranking, okay? Because
Yep.
now you're talking about customization. Like it's very hard to figure out attribution, but I do think it's easier to understand who your target audience is and how they search and go, what should we be doing to be in the way of this? And I think what I was going to say earlier was how people are searching. What I'm finding is when you were saying, oh, it could be Facebook, it could be Google, it could be both, and it could be
Yeah.
simultaneously.